Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. I hadn't realized how much things had changed between us until that night. It was late, nearly midnight, and the glow of the streetlights outside cast an eerie, pale light into our bedroom. I lay there, staring up at the ceiling, while my wife, Emily, lay beside me with her phone in hand, typing away. I could hear the faint tapping of her fingers against the screen, the soft pings of incoming messages, and the occasional muffled laugh she failed to hide. This wasn't the first night she'd been glued to her phone. Lately, it had become a habit, one I found increasingly hard to ignore. It wasn't just the late-night texting, it was the distance that had grown between us, an invisible wall that seemed to get higher every day. We used to talk before bed, share the little details of our day, laugh together about silly things. Now, the silence between us felt heavy, almost oppressive. "Who are you texting so late?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. My eyes remained fixed on the ceiling, but I was painfully aware of every movement she made beside me. Emily hesitated for a second, just a split second, before she responded. "Oh, just Sarah," she said, her voice light, almost dismissive. "We're planning her birthday party next weekend." Sarah. Her best friend since college. They'd been inseparable for years, and I had no reason to doubt her. But something about the way she said it, the way she immediately turned her back to me afterward, set off alarm bells in my head. My gut was telling me something was wrong, something she wasn't telling me. And I couldn't shake the feeling, no matter how much I tried. "Sounds like you two are having fun," I muttered, half to myself. "Yeah, just some girl talk," she replied, not even looking up from her phone. I rolled onto my side, facing away from her, and closed my eyes, trying to will myself to sleep. But the suspicion gnawed at me, refusing to let go. I could hear her still typing, the soft hum of her voice as she recorded a voice message. A message she didn't want me to hear. For the next few nights, the same routine played out. Emily would spend hours on her phone, her attention completely absorbed in her conversations with Sarah. At least, that's what she told me. But the more I watched her, the more I noticed the little things, the way she'd smile at her screen, the quick flicker of her eyes toward me whenever she thought I wasn't looking, the way she'd instantly lock her phone the moment I glanced over. It was as if she was hiding something she didn't want me to see. I tried to push the thoughts away, tell myself I was being paranoid. But as the days went by, the nagging doubt only grew stronger. I needed to know what she was hiding. I needed to see those messages for myself. One evening, after dinner, Emily excused herself to take a shower. She left her phone on the kitchen counter, and I seized the opportunity. My heart pounded in my chest as I picked up her phone, my hands trembling slightly. I'd never invaded her privacy like this before, and a part of me felt sick for even considering it. But the doubt, the suspicion, was stronger. I unlocked her phone, easily guessing her password. It was our anniversary date. My hands shook as I opened her messaging app and scrolled through the conversations until I found Sarah's name at the top of the list. I took a deep breath and opened it. At first, everything seemed normal. They were discussing the party, sharing pictures of decorations, exchanging recipes for cocktails. But as I scrolled further up, something caught my eye, a message that made my blood run cold. "I can't stop thinking about him," Emily had typed. "He's so much better than Mark in bed. I don't know how I'm going to keep this a secret." I froze, my mind reeling. For a moment, I wondered if I had misunderstood, if maybe she was talking about a fictional character or something else entirely. But as I continued to read, the truth became impossible to deny. "I know it's risky," another message from Emily read, "but I can't help it. Every time I'm with him, it feels like everything is right in the world. Mark just doesn't do it for me anymore. It's like I'm living a double life, but one of them is so much more exciting." My heart sank as I read message after message, each one a knife twisting deeper into my chest. Emily and Sarah weren't just talking about party plans, they were discussing her affair, her secret lover. And worst of all, she was comparing him to me, finding me lacking in every way. How could she do this? I whispered to myself, my voice barely audible. I felt sick, my stomach churning with a mix of anger, betrayal, and disbelief. The shower was still running upstairs, the sound of water pattering against the tiles echoing through the house. I had a few minutes, maybe less, before Emily would come back. My mind raced, trying to process everything, trying to figure out what to do next. Part of me wanted to confront her right then and there, to demand answers, to scream at her for betraying me like this. But another part of me, the more rational part, told me to wait, to think things through. If I confronted her now, she might just deny everything, make excuses, turn it around on me somehow. No, I needed to be smart about this. I needed a plan. I quickly put her phone back where I'd found it, making sure it was exactly as she'd left it. Then I walked over to the sink, splashed cold water on my face, and tried to calm the storm of emotions raging inside me. I couldn't let her see that I knew. Not yet. When Emily came downstairs a few minutes later, towel wrapped around her, her hair still wet from the shower, I forced myself to smile at her, to act as if nothing was wrong. But every time I looked at her, all I could see were those messages, those damning words that had shattered everything I thought I knew about our marriage. "You okay?" she asked, giving me a curious look as she poured herself a glass of water. "Yeah, just tired," I replied, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside me. "Long day at work?" She nodded, seeming to accept my answer without suspicion. But I could see it now, the way she avoided my gaze, the way she quickly changed the subject whenever I tried to talk to her about anything personal. She was hiding something, and now I knew exactly what it was. That night, as we lay in bed, the silence between us felt more suffocating than ever. Emily fell asleep quickly, her breathing slow and even. But I lay awake for hours, my mind racing, trying to figure out how to get back at her, how to make her pay for what she'd done. This wasn't going to end with just a confrontation. No, I needed to do more than that. I needed to ruin her life, just as she had ruined mine. And as I lay there, staring into the darkness, a plan began to take shape in my mind. A plan that would destroy everything she held dear. This was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke up with a resolve I hadn't felt in years. I had barely slept, my mind too consumed with the betrayal I'd uncovered the night before. But as I watched Emily go through her morning routine, acting as though nothing had changed, my anger only deepened. She moved around the kitchen with that same ease, humming softly to herself as she poured her coffee, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. I needed to act, and I needed to act fast. "Morning," I said, forcing a smile as I entered the kitchen. "Morning," she replied, flashing me that same smile that used to melt my heart. Now, it just made me sick. "What's on your agenda today?" I asked, trying to sound casual as I grabbed a mug and filled it with coffee. "Nothing much. Just some errands to run. I might meet Sarah for lunch later," she said, her voice light and carefree. I nodded, taking a sip of my coffee, all the while mentally noting her schedule. Lunch with Sarah meant she'd be out for a couple of hours, just enough time for me to start putting my plan into action. "Sounds good. I'm going to head to work a bit early today. Got a big project that needs finishing," I said, already thinking about what I needed to do next. She leaned in to give me a quick kiss on the cheek, and I had to force myself not to recoil. I played along, giving her a brief peck in return, before grabbing my keys and heading out the door. But I wasn't going to work. Not yet. I drove to a nearby park instead, one of those places where you can sit in your car and not draw attention. There, I pulled out my phone and made the first of several calls. The first call was to my friend Jake. Jake was an old college buddy who worked as a private investigator. He wasn't the type to ask too many questions, which was exactly what I needed. "Hey, Jake. It's Mark," I said as soon as he picked up. "Mark. Long time no talk, man." "What's up?" he replied, his voice full of easygoing warmth. "I need a favor," I said, cutting straight to the point. "It's personal. I can't go into details, but I need you to follow someone for me. Discreetly." There was a pause on the other end, but Jake didn't press. "Sure, I can do that. Who are we talking about?" "My wife," I said, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. "I need to know where she goes, who she sees. I need evidence, Jake. Solid evidence." Jake let out a low whistle. "Damn, man. Sorry to hear that. But yeah, I can help. Send me her details, and I'll get started right away." "Thanks, Jake. I appreciate it," I said, and hung up after giving him the necessary information. My next call was to a lawyer, a recommendation from another friend who had gone through a rough divorce a few years back. I needed someone ruthless, someone who would make sure I came out of this mess on top. "Hello, Mr. Walsh. My name is Mark Patterson. I'm looking for representation in a potential divorce case," I said when the lawyer, a sharp-sounding man in his 50s, answered the phone. "Mr. Patterson, we specialize in high-conflict cases. If you're looking for a fair settlement, you've called the wrong firm," Walsh said, his voice direct, almost cold. "Good," I replied. "I'm not looking for fair. I'm looking for a fight." There was a pause, and I could almost hear the smile in his voice when he responded. "Then you've come to the right place. Let's set up a meeting, and we'll discuss your options." I arranged to meet him the following day and hung up, feeling a grim sense of satisfaction. Things were moving fast, just as I needed them to. When I got back home later that day, Emily was already gone, likely meeting Sarah as planned. I had the house to myself, and I took the opportunity to search through her things, looking for anything that might give me more insight into her affair. It felt wrong, like I was some kind of criminal, but I reminded myself that I wasn't the one who had broken our vows. I started with her closet, rifling through her clothes, searching for anything out of place. My hands brushed against a small, velvet box hidden at the back. I pulled it out, heart pounding, and opened it. Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a pendant in the shape of a heart. I had never seen it before. A gift, no doubt, from her lover. My grip tightened on the box, and I had to fight the urge to smash it against the wall. Instead, I carefully put it back where I found it, closing the closet door as if nothing had happened. Next, I moved to her desk, opening drawers and sorting through papers. Most of it was mundane: bills, receipts, old birthday cards. But then, in the bottom drawer, I found a small notebook, the kind she liked to carry in her purse. I opened it, flipping through the pages, and there it was, her handwriting, neat and precise, detailing plans and thoughts, most of it innocent. But then, toward the back, I found notes about him. Meeting him at the hotel tonight. Can't wait to see him again. Lunch was amazing. He always knows how to make me laugh. I wish Mark could be more like him. Each word felt like a fresh wound. My anger burned hotter with every sentence I read. This wasn't just some fling, she had feelings for this guy. Real feelings. And she had been meeting him at a hotel, under my nose, while pretending everything was fine between us. I knew I needed to stay calm, to keep my emotions in check. Blowing up at her now would ruin everything. But every part of me screamed for revenge, for justice. She had taken everything I'd built, everything I'd cherished, and thrown it away for some cheap thrill. I closed the notebook, my hands shaking with rage. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. That night, when Emily came home, she was her usual cheerful self, talking about her lunch with Sarah and the errands she'd run. I nodded along, pretending to listen, but my mind was elsewhere, already planning my next move. "Mark, you've been really quiet lately. Everything okay?" she asked, concern flickering across her face. "Just a lot on my mind," I said, giving her a small smile. "Work's been stressful." She reached out and squeezed my hand, her touch light and familiar, but now it felt like poison on my skin. "I'm here if you need to talk, you know." "I know," I replied, pulling my hand away as gently as I could. "Thanks." We ate dinner in relative silence, the TV playing some mindless sitcom in the background. I couldn't bring myself to enjoy it, not with everything I knew now. Every laugh track, every joke, grated on my nerves. As we got ready for bed, I watched her from the corner of my eye, still trying to wrap my head around how she could lie to me so easily. How she could look me in the eye, kiss me goodnight, and then text him under the covers. But I didn't let on. I kept up the charade, playing the role of the unsuspecting husband, biding my time. Tomorrow, Jake would start following her, gathering the evidence I needed. And once I had enough, once I was sure of everything, I would strike. This was only the beginning. Emily had no idea what was coming, but soon she would. Soon, she would regret every single lie she'd ever told me. The first move was mine. Now, it was just a matter of time before I took the rest. The next morning, I wake up with a steely determination. The plan I've set in motion is beginning to take shape, and there's no turning back now. Emily is already up and moving about the house when I step into the kitchen. She's dressed in a simple blouse and jeans, her hair pulled back into a loose ponytail, and she's humming softly to herself as she pours a cup of coffee. She looks so innocent, so normal, like any other morning. But I know better now. "Morning," I say, my voice steady as I walk over to the counter. "Morning," she replies, turning to smile at me. "Did you sleep well?" "Yeah, pretty well," I lie, taking a seat at the kitchen table. I watch her carefully as she moves around, acting as though everything is perfectly fine. But I know she's got plans for today, plans that don't involve me. "I'm meeting Sarah for lunch again today," Emily says casually as she takes a sip of her coffee. "We've got some more party details to iron out." "Sounds like fun," I reply, keeping my tone light. "Anything I can help with?" She shakes her head, her smile never faltering. "Nope, just girl stuff. But thanks for offering." "All right then. I'm going to head into work early again." "Another busy day ahead," I say, pushing back from the table. She nods, and we exchange the usual morning pleasantries before I grab my keys and head out the door. But just like yesterday, I'm not going to work. Instead, I drive to a small cafe downtown, where I've arranged to meet Jake. The cafe is quiet when I arrive, just a few early morning patrons nursing their coffees and scrolling through their phones. I spot Jake in a corner booth, a cup of black coffee in front of him, and slide into the seat across from him. "Morning," he says, his voice low as he glances around to make sure no one's listening. "Morning," I reply, leaning in slightly. "Did you find anything?" Jake pulls out a small notebook from his jacket pocket and flips it open. "I tailed her yesterday after she left the house. She met up with Sarah at that little bistro on Maple. They did have lunch, but afterward, she didn't go straight home." I feel my heart rate quicken as I listen, my hands clenching into fists under the table. "Where did she go?" "Hotel on the east side," Jake says, his tone matter of fact. "Same place you mentioned seeing in her notes. She was there for about 2 hours before she headed back home." The confirmation hits me like a punch to the gut, even though I knew it was coming. It's one thing to suspect, but it's another to have undeniable proof. Did you see him? I ask, my voice tight. Jake nods, flipping to a page in his notebook where he scribbled down details. Yeah. Tall guy, dark hair, well-dressed. I got a few photos of him going into the hotel, and a few of them leaving together. He hands me a small envelope, and I take it, my hands trembling slightly as I open it and pull out the photos. There she is, my wife, standing close to another man, her face lit up with a smile I haven't seen in years. The man beside her is handsome, confident, the kind of guy who turns heads when he walks into a room. The sight of them together makes my blood boil. Anything else? I ask, my voice strained as I force myself to look away from the photos. Not yet, but I'll keep digging. If she's seeing this guy regularly, I'll find out where they're meeting and how often, Jake says, closing his notebook and slipping it back into his pocket. You sure you want to go through with this, Mark? It's not too late to just confront her, get it all out in the open. I shake my head, the rage and hurt swirling inside me like a storm. No, I'm not ready to confront her yet. I need more. I want to make sure there's no way she can weasel out of this. Jake nods, understanding. All right. I'll keep you updated. We finish our coffees in relative silence, the weight of what's happening pressing down on both of us. After a few more minutes of discussing logistics, I thank Jake and leave the cafe, the envelope of photos tucked safely in my jacket pocket. Back in the car, I sit for a moment, staring at the steering wheel, my mind racing. Seeing those photos, knowing that Emily is with another man while pretending everything is fine, fills me with a cold, calculated anger. She's been living a double life, but now it's my turn to play the game. I drive home, my thoughts consumed with the next steps. The lawyer, Walsh, had told me to gather as much evidence as possible before making any moves, and that's exactly what I plan to do. I need to hit her where it hurts the most, and that means building an airtight case against her. When I get home, Emily is already back from her lunch with Sarah. She's in the living room, flipping through a magazine when I walk in. Hey, she says, looking up at me with a smile that now feels like a lie. Hey, I reply, forcing myself to smile back. How was lunch? Oh, it was great. We're almost done with all the planning. Just a few more things to finalize, she says, her voice light and carefree. I nod, sitting down next to her on the couch. That's good. I'm glad you're having fun. She leans over and kisses me on the cheek, and I have to fight the urge to pull away. Thanks for being so understanding, she says softly. I know I've been spending a lot of time with Sarah lately, but it's just been nice to have some girl time, you know? Of course, I say, keeping my voice steady. I want you to be happy. We sit there for a while, talking about mundane things, dinner plans, the weather, work, while the truth festers beneath the surface. Every word she says feels like a dagger, a reminder of the lies she's been telling me. Later that evening, after dinner, I excuse myself to go for a walk. I need to clear my head, to think. As I step outside into the cool night air, I pull out my phone and dial Walsh's number. He answers on the second ring. Mr. Patterson, Walsh says, his voice as sharp as ever. What can I do for you? I have more evidence, I say, keeping my voice low as I walk down the quiet street. Photos of her with him at a hotel. And she's been seeing him regularly. I need to know what my options are. Good, Walsh replies, his tone approving. We're building a strong case. The more evidence we have, the better position you'll be in when this goes to court. If we can prove infidelity, it will significantly affect the division of assets, not to mention custody if you have children. We don't have kids, I say quickly, not wanting to think about what might have happened if we did. That simplifies things, Walsh says. But we still need to be thorough. keep gathering evidence. We'll want to subpoena phone records, bank statements, anything that shows she's been funneling money or time into this affair. The goal is to make her look as guilty as possible. I nod, even though he can't see me. Understood. I'll keep working on it. Good, Walsh says, his voice cold and calculating. When the time comes, we'll be ready to strike. I hang up, my heart pounding as I continue walking, the dark streets of our neighborhood eerily quiet. I've always been a straightforward guy, someone who believes in honesty and integrity. But now, I'm playing a different game, one where lies and deception are my tools. As I walk back to the house, I spot our neighbor, Mrs. Jensen, out in her yard, watering her plants. She's an older woman, friendly, always quick to chat when she sees us. She waves as I approach. "Evening, Mark," she says with a warm smile. "Out for a walk?" "Yeah, just clearing my head," I reply, trying to keep my tone light. She nods, her eyes twinkling with a knowing look. "Well, you and Emily seem to be doing just fine. I always see her around town, and she looks so happy." "Yeah," I say, forcing a smile. "We're doing well." But as I walk away, her words echo in my mind, twisting the knife of betrayal even deeper. Everyone thinks we're the perfect couple, but they have no idea what's really going on behind closed doors. When I get back home, Emily is already in bed, her phone plugged in on the nightstand. I change into my pajamas and slide under the covers next to her, my mind racing with thoughts of revenge. She's asleep within minutes, her breathing slow and steady, but I lie awake, staring up at the ceiling, plotting my next move. I've got the photos, the beginnings of a case, but it's not enough. I need more. I need to make sure there's no way she can wriggle out of this. And most importantly, I need to make her feel the pain she's caused me. As I finally drift off to sleep, one thought lingers in my mind: this is only the beginning. The trap is set, and it's only a matter of time before it snaps shut. And when it does, Emily will have no idea what hit her. The days that follow are a blur of careful planning and subtle manipulations. I continue to play the role of the loving, unsuspecting husband while my real work goes on in the shadows. Jake keeps me updated on Emily's movements, feeding me more and more evidence of her affair. Walsh is relentless in his pursuit of legal advantage, drafting documents and gathering everything we need to make the final blow devastating. Emily, for her part, remains oblivious. She continues her routine as if nothing is wrong, smiling at me over dinner, kissing me goodnight, all while sneaking off to be with her lover whenever she thinks I'm not watching. The more she lies, the more I seethe with anger. But I keep it all bottled up, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash it. That moment finally arrives one Friday evening. Emily is supposed to meet Sarah again, or at least that's what she's told me. But I know better now. I know exactly where she's going and who she's going to be with. This time, I decide to confront her, not in a public place where she can spin her lies, but in the privacy of our own home, where the truth will have no escape. I come home from work earlier than usual, knowing she won't be expecting me for another few hours. The house is quiet when I enter, the air thick with an anticipation I can't quite describe. I head upstairs to our bedroom, where I find her packing a small overnight bag. My heart pounds in my chest as I watch her, the finality of what I'm about to do hitting me like a freight train. "Going somewhere?" I ask, my voice cold and flat. Emily jumps, spinning around to face me. For a brief moment, I see panic flash across her face, but she quickly masks it with a smile. "Oh, hey. I didn't hear you come in. I'm just getting ready to meet Sarah. We're going to have a girls' night, maybe even stay over at her place." I step into the room, closing the door behind me. "Sarah, huh?" I say, crossing my arms. "That's funny, because Jake, my PI, tells me you're planning to meet someone else tonight." Her smile falters, her eyes widening slightly. What are you talking about? I pull out my phone, opening the gallery where I've stored the photos Jake took of her with her lover. I hold it out for her to see, my hand steady despite the anger coursing through me. This, I say, my voice low and dangerous. This is what I'm talking about. Emily's face drains of color as she stares at the photos. For a moment, she says nothing, her mouth opening and closing as if she's trying to form words but can't quite manage it. Finally, she looks up at me, her eyes filling with tears. Mark, I can explain. Don't, I snap, cutting her off. Don't you dare try to explain this away. You've been lying to me for months, sneaking around behind my back, pretending everything is fine while you're off with him. How long did you think you could keep this up? She swallows hard, her tears spilling over onto her cheeks. I never wanted to hurt you, she says, her voice trembling. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Didn't mean for it to go this far. I repeat, incredulous. You've been meeting him at a hotel, Emily. You've been lying to me every single day. You don't accidentally end up in a hotel room with another man. She wipes at her tears, her hands shaking. I know. I've been so stupid. But it's over, I swear. I was going to end it tonight. I was going to tell him it was over. I laugh bitterly, shaking my head. You really expect me to believe that? After all the lies you've told? I'm telling you the truth, she cries, stepping toward me, her hands outstretched as if to touch me. Please, Mark, just let me explain. I step back, putting distance between us. Don't, I say again, my voice hard. There's nothing you can say that will make this right. Nothing. She stops, her hands dropping to her sides as she realizes just how deep the chasm between us has become. I love you, Mark, she says softly. I never stopped loving you. Don't, I say for a third time, the word coming out like a hiss. You don't get to say that. Not after what you've done. The room falls into a heavy silence, the weight of everything that's been left unsaid pressing down on us. I can see the regret in her eyes, the realization that she's lost me for good. But it's too late for regrets. The damage is done, and there's no coming back from this. I've already spoken to a lawyer, I say, breaking the silence. We're getting a divorce. I'll make sure it's done quickly and cleanly, but make no mistake, this marriage is over. Emily's face crumples as she lets out a choked sob. Mark, please don't do this, she begs, her voice thick with desperation. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, work through it together. Please, just give me a chance to make it right. I stare at her, my anger giving way to a cold, empty numbness. There's nothing left to fix, Emily. You destroyed everything when you decided to cheat. I'll have Walsh contact you about the paperwork. I suggest you start packing your things. She looks at me, her expression one of utter devastation. But I don't feel anything for her anymore, not pity, not sympathy, not love. All I feel is a deep, unrelenting need to get as far away from her as possible. I'm going out, I say, turning away from her. When I come back, I expect you to be gone. Mark, please, she starts, but I don't let her finish. I walk out of the room, out of the house, slamming the door behind me. I don't know where I'm going, and I don't care. I just need to be anywhere but here, anywhere but in that house where the memories of what we once had are now tainted by her betrayal. As I walk down the street, the evening air cool against my skin, I feel a strange sense of relief. The truth is out now, and the deception is over. There's no more pretending, no more lies. Just the harsh, bitter reality that the woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, is gone. I wander aimlessly for hours, lost in my thoughts, until I find myself at the park where Jake and I met a few days ago. I sit on a bench, staring out at the darkened trees, and try to make sense of everything that's happened. But there's no making sense of it. There's only moving forward, one painful step at a time. As I sit there, my phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out, seeing a message from Jake. All done on my end. Let me know if you need anything else. I don't reply. There's nothing left to say. The trap is sprung, the truth is out, and now all that's left is to clean up the mess. I shove my phone back into my pocket and lean back on the bench, closing my eyes as I try to block out the memories, the pain, the anger. But then, as I sit there in the quiet darkness, something else starts to nag at the back of my mind. Something that doesn't quite add up. Emily's insistence that she was going to end the affair tonight. The way she seemed genuinely shocked and devastated when I confronted her. And most of all, the way she kept saying she loved me, that she never stopped loving me. What if she was telling the truth? What if she really was planning to end it tonight? What if all of this, the investigation, the photos, the confrontation, was based on a mistake, a misunderstanding? What if, in my anger and hurt, I pushed her away when she was trying to come back to me? The thought sends a chill down my spine. But it's too late now. The damage is done. Even if she was telling the truth, even if she was planning to end it, I can't go back. I can't undo what's been said, what's been done. I open my eyes and stare up at the night sky, the stars barely visible through the haze of city lights. The realization hits me with a cold, crushing finality: we're done. There's no going back from this, no matter what the truth is. The love we once had is gone, replaced by something darker, something twisted and broken. I get up from the bench, my body heavy with exhaustion, and start the long walk back home. By the time I get there, I hope she'll be gone, her things packed up, the house empty. And when I open the door and step inside, that's exactly what I find. The house is silent, her presence erased from every room. The only thing left is a note on the kitchen counter, written in her neat, familiar handwriting. I'm sorry, it says. I never wanted to hurt you. I'll always love you. Goodbye. I stare at the note for a long time, the words blurring as tears well up in my eyes. But I don't cry. I can't. I just feel empty, hollow, like everything that made me who I am has been stripped away. I crumple the note in my hand and toss it into the trash, the final act of erasing her from my life. Then I turn off the lights, lock the door, and walk upstairs to the bedroom that now feels like a tomb. As I lie in bed, staring up at the ceiling, the silence around me feels suffocating. The memories of the last few weeks swirl through my mind, a whirlwind of anger, pain, and betrayal. But beneath it all, there's a quiet, nagging doubt, a question that will haunt me for the rest of my life. What if she was telling the truth? But I'll never know. Because in the end, it doesn't matter. The deception, the lies, the betrayal, they've poisoned everything beyond repair. We've both played our parts, and now we're left with nothing but the ruins of what we once had. And as I close my eyes, finally succumbing to the exhaustion that's been pulling at me all day, one final thought crosses my mind. It's over. Forever.